on a choosing to be open to rest on a different word today. And I think I'll use the words, the syllables that make the word completion. Um, I like when I get something done and finished, then I can continue on with the next part of the process. So I'll hang out with completions today, finishing what I start. I may not finish it in one day, but it's staying on that track to completion.
Beautiful.
Good morning, Greg.
Morning, Craig.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything is wonderful. It's about to come. We're together. When you hopped on, that song just popped into my brain. I'm sorry, I just had to let it go.
See.
Remember that?
See.
I'm flattered.
That's what happened to you. Yep.
Sunshine's here.
The bounce is back.
I'm not even mad at myself that I didn't hop on the line and go, good morning, good morning, good morning to you. It's like Broadway plays are popping out, musicals from the 60s and 70s.
Well, you guys, it's a transitional day for me. Well, yesterday was actually. I officially moved out of the lifeboat that I've been living in for the last 13 months.
How does that feel?
How does that feel?
Yeah.
Strange.
Different.
Well, yeah, different, yeah.
I'm caught between your you speaking metaphorically and speaking reality. So where were you living exactly?
Well, I left Salem, Oregon, the end of September last year.
Okay, I know that.
And I drove to Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Because the only person I could find that would help me was an old friend that I'd had since the early 80s. So I've known this guy for over 40 years. And I kind of told him my story, and he said, I have a 2-bedroom house and I'm not using the other bedroom. And you could come and stay with me. And so I did.
Okay, awesome. And so now?
I'm going back. I'm going back to Oregon to kind of tie up all the loose ends because, I'm kind of sensing that the war is over there.
Okay.
But like as far as I'm concerned, but I don't have a support system there or anything. So so it's kind of interesting. But I've just felt moved to go back. But it's taken since I started getting this idea, it's taken about 4 months to get to this point. So, yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
You have a different, you have more objectivity now to go back and do what needs to be done. where you're not
Yeah.
emotionally triggered.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I went through what you'd call a really extreme mental illness, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, they call it nervous breakdown, but it can be positive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It depends on how you
Yeah,
want to define it, eh? You get to define it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've picked up too is that to label it negative or positive really isn't helpful.
Yeah. A nervous
You know,
breakdown isn't always bad. It's breaking down the
well, it's not even bad or good
yeah.
It's
when
just
it
Yeah.
comes
emotion.
to that. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's put it this way. What I understand as far as my own life experience is concerned, it was necessary.
Mm-hmm. For you to break
And
out. Mm-hmm.
well, but I don't really know. I have no idea why. I just know that it was necessary. And,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been healthy to me to leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something in my life experience that is and will be effective for multitudes of people. And I'm surmising that has a lot to do with the way humanity is changing on the planet. And I'm just my life experience is many years ahead of the curve. That's one thing I've discovered in the last year is that I've always been experiencing things well before pretty much anybody on the planet. So it's a transition from old energy to new energy, old paradigm to new paradigm, old way of living to new way of living. Linear dimensionality to multidimensionality.
Mm-hmm.
Dimensionality, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the thing is, so my role, if you want to call it that, I don't know if role is the right thing, but my role was to kind of live this transition in advance so that I can facilitate a lot of other people making the same transition, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it. I get it exactly.
Yeah.
I think I get it exactly. I won't presume I know all of your experience, but I just had to have a phone call with a young lady this morning that it was pressing on me to have this conversation with her. And I really didn't want to not want to have the conversation with her, but I knew what I was feeling and thinking and vibing, but I didn't know how to bring it to her in a way that she would receive the intention of the conversation. So let me just wrap that all up. So I know what I have experienced, and I see her going through it. And I say to myself, I wish that someone would have brought these things to my attention as I was going through it. But then people say, well, everybody's got to walk their own path and they got to figure out things for themselves. And you really can't tell people anything. But I think you can tell people something. But when you tell them, you just can't be attached to the outcome of you sharing what you know. So
Yeah.
today, I said, look, I know where this is coming from. I hope you can receive it with the love and the intention that it is meant to be. And she said, oh, wait a minute. Should we pray first? I said, absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
pray
Yeah.
first. Right.
Yeah. Whatever they want to do. Right.
Right. So I shared with her what I had to share with her. It was, it kind of beat her up or calling her out on her shit, but I just had to let her know that the veil that she was prevailing in, that I could see it for what I saw it for. It may or may not be that for her, or she may or may not want to um um reveal or agree or expose herself to. Maybe I could be speaking her truth, but I told her I still had to give it to her as I saw it, because it keeps laying on me and I'm trying to be nice and polite. But am I really being your friend, being that gentle when I see you in the eye of a storm and you're contributing to the storm instead of walking in your gifting? So I did, I said, I don't know how this is going to come out, but I have to give it to you. It's up to you what you do with it. And I still love you no matter what. And if you choose to still love me, that's on you. But here it goes. And I gave it to her, I stepped into the eye of her storm, into where I was when I was in that storm. And I just said, well, look, this is what I know. This is what I share. This comes from experience, this comes from wisdom, and it comes from love. But I can't let you be in the midst of it and not have the knowledge that I have received from being where I believe you are. It's up to you.
Yeah.
And she really, really, really appreciated it in the way I believe I would have really, 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 really appreciated it had someone pulled my coattails when I was going through stuff and didn't even know where I was, because I was lost in stuff that I didn't even know I was lost. So, yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
So now you know what you know, and you're going back to teach and share and show and live it the way you know it, regardless of the circumstances you find.
Yeah. What's really interesting about the whole experience was that it was an extreme one
Mm-hmm.
to start off with, like the most extreme experience I've ever been through. But what was very interesting for me was that I desperately tried to control the experience,
Mm-hmm.
and I could not.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when some extreme like that happens to you, to a human being, that is that's the greatest issue that there is to deal with, is the whole thing about trying to control the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, well, I know this for sure. The amount of time it took to go through the experience had a lot to do with how much I had been trying to control it. like when the experience first came to an onset for me was 16 and a half years ago. So it's like, I've been dealing with this for a quarter of my life. So it's like, whoa. But now that I know that, now that I know that the way through it is to surrender to it. Yeah, I can proceed forward and facilitate other people surrendering to it, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I get it. I get that.
Because I tried the other way.
Yeah.
Until I had nothing left to try with, if that makes any sense.
I'm almost mad that I understand this too much. Yeah, I understand. But I wouldn't take nothing for the experience, or I would not understand.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be mad at other people for the choices they made and not bringing information to me that they were aware of, because if it had turned out any other way for me,
bringing information to you,
you're bringing the light of information to me, awarenesses to me. But if they had, then I would not be as sensitive to the importance of sharing with others in that deep, silent place that could be ignored, but has a significant impact on how we can choose to live out our choices.
Yeah, but here's the other part of it that kind of confounded me, but also kind of confounds everything that I've heard up to this point from other people, is what I have this understanding around what I went through that has to do with my superconscious self and my true nature were actually guiding me throughout that whole experience. And it's not about choice so much as it's about aligning with my true nature and my own super consciousness, if that makes sense. So it's choosing to align with my super consciousness would be a really good way to say it. Because it's doing what it's doing. It's fulfilling the reason that I incarnated in this particular time and generation and age. And the thing is, the physical material 4D life is kind of dragging behind to the point where it became a burden. There's a real lightness of being that emerges when you follow and sync up with your own super consciousness. In fact, that's what the experience is all about, actually. To have this deep reconnection with your own soul, your own super consciousness, and what the heck you're doing here. You know, and that includes reconnecting with your 3Gs, your gifts, your genius, and your greatness. And the magnificent soul that you are. And have always been. And realizing that I am not and have never been this persona that I created to try to survive with.
Mm-hmm.
In this earth environment, right?
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah, so that's where I call it for me, the nervous breakdown. That's how when I look back and as I was even going through it, it's like everything that I had built up and had counted on and identified and assumed to be me, it was just like this is it just all flaked out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's and so the nervous breakdown, my nerves was tied to it, my emotions was tied to it, my beliefs was tied to it, my hopes was tied to it, and it was like rice paper. It just like all like crumbled around
Yeah.
and disintegrated to nothingness. And then there I was, just raw being, like exposed, not covered up, and not covered up from myself. Like I wasn't hidden from myself. And so, you know, I say the words nervous breakdown, but it was a good thing because the fallacy of everything became true, that it was a fallacy. And then I had to only go inward. I could only go inward and be inward to come out, to begin and take my time. You know, people want to, you know, you think you got to hurry up and become something. No, no. You take your time and you choose what you will and won't accept. And if you pick something that that doesn't taste good, you take it back, or you take it back away from you as it not being a choice. Yes, you get to change your mind because I picked that out of old habits and thoughts and expressions and familiarity. But you know what? It is bitter it does not please me. It's not congruent with me. It's not aligned with me. So guess what? I take that out my mouth and I put it down. I take it out and I choose the next choice of being when and as I'm ready and desire to pick and choose. And very carefully, no, I do not like my eggs a certain way. I don't want it that way, even though I've eaten it that way for like forever. But I was always fixing eggs for everybody else. And that was the way I ate them, but that's not my preference. So now I choose how I want to eat my eggs. And even when I'm amidst a lot of other people and everybody's ordering eggs, no, I want my eggs over easy with the yolk just perfectly firm with a soft center. Exactly. And if it doesn't come that way, I don't have to eat it if I don't want it, and I don't want it, so I don't eat it. So I've made my choice. I know what I like and I know what I don't like. But if I don't know, I'll try some things, but I'm not worried about anybody being offended if I don't choose what they think I should choose or what they give me. No, that's okay. That's not for me. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I don't have that doesn't align with me for my life and my model and my choices and my style and my desires. So there's a building up that occurs. So if I want to spend 48 hours painting and not finishing and coming back to it, that's my choice of time. But just because you have something that I'm interested in and you want me to go somewhere, I'm why should I come down off my creation to go somewhere you want to go because you want to go like emphatically right now? Then you go. I'll see you when you come back and we'll have a beautiful discourse on each of our adventures without judgment or limitation, just sharing.
Yeah, yeah. Because remember, I said that it turns out it was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is that that whole persona, that
Mm-hmm.
whole persona that I've been creating throughout my life, that had to break down.
Yes.
That had to be shown as ineffective and literally detrimental to my health,
Yes.
to my well-being.
Yes.
And yeah.
To your
And
expansion.
to expansion too. And well, the thing is all that really is at this point in my life is uh, it's kind of like carrying a boulder on your back, and you can't climb a mountain with a boulder on your back. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you can't advance, you can't move forward if you're carrying all this extra weight. It's not going to happen. So part of it is an exchange of trust. Okay. So as up to this point, I've my life, navigated through my life, trusting in this persona that I created. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not trustworthy. It's not healthy for me. It's not, etc. So, something radical has to happen to break that down and detach that whole
Mm-hmm.
trust thing that had developed over many decades. And that's going to be painful. I mean, come on. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. With
Sure.
all that being said, Craig, What are your three ways of being today? Because you've talked about trust and not trust. You've talked about boulders and what you can and can't carry. So what is your way of being today?
Well, this whole thing about going back, going back into what was the dragon's lair, and where everything broke down for me, like the environment where everything broke down for me is trust is a big one.
What are you going to trust today?
Well, I'm trusting.
What's your intuition tell you?
My own superconscious, for one thing, and also trusting that the whole cosmos has my back. The whole cosmos is in support of me and what I'm doing here. I've got a stadium full of people that are cheering me on, and people and entities.
That's a really good start.
Yeah.
You're doing better than I am. I haven't thought of three ways of being yet. I think one of my ways of being is inquisitive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Inquisitive, curiosity is another one, because I'm very interested to see what's going to come up in support of me. And move forward with that kind of anticipation. And awareness and attention. So yeah, curiosity is another one. So trust and curiosity. Let's see. That's two. Oh, here's the other one. Oh, this is good too. Stillness, calmness, silence. Yeah.
When you said a stadium of people in the universe supporting you and cheering you on, I concur with all of that. I just want to ask again, how are you showing up? The stadium and all of that, they're showing up supportive and all of that. But in the midst of that stadium, and there you stand, how are you showing up? I think I missed hearing that clearly. If everybody shows up or nobody shows up, how are you showing up? And I ask myself that same question. Because state of being is me being.
Yeah, I'm showing up with anticipation and curiosity and stillness. That's how I'm
Okay.
showing up.
Okay.
Like very receptive, open to the extreme, like whatever's there. And yeah, very, very high sensitivity.
Okay, I'm plugging in on you to plug in on myself, so
Yep, go
I
for it.
appreciate your patience.
Yeah, go
So,
for it.
so you're showing up, and again, I get, the openness. That's beautiful. It's even cute for our level of existence right now, right?
Yeah.
But what are you bringing to the table up from inside of the who that you are? Because put a pause there, because when sometime when we come open, we're like a ship without a sail, and we're liable to take in everything and be aware of this and that, and that's nice, but we also can leave ourselves open to be a dumping ground as well. So, but when you show up being in your beingness is what you bring to the table. Like if you don't show up, it's not going to be there as you would bring it. So I'm just challenging you on being so open. You can be conscious and you can be aware, but how are you being? Like, people just can't receive you any kind of way because it's clear that you're not who you were, that they can't redefine you to back to what was familiar to them that they knew of you. So what in you is that wasn't as prevalent, standing as clear as you are showing up today?
It's interesting you bring that up because that's kind of the point. Uh,
So maybe that's where you're open, because maybe you don't know. You need to go back to
no,
the
just hang on. Just hang on.
okay.
Yeah. I'm showing up in my wholeness, which is not individual.
Mm.
I'm showing up as an indiscriminate part of the soul soup.
So are you saying you're showing up as the stadium full that is you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. Love it.
See, that persona that broke down was the individual. And the part that moves ahead is the collective. It's the super conscious, which is the soul soup.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's the part that's quantum entangled.
Mhm. I like quantum ordered. It's harmoniously ordered,
Yep.
uniquely. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I think you went and got untangled and now you're ordered according to your divine design.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
And that'll continue. That continues to show up like
Mhm.
day by day, moment by moment.
Mhm. I'm gonna be, when you get where you're going, I'm gonna be hanging out, sitting at the edge of a cloud with my legs crossed and my chin in my hand, and I'm gonna be just joyously observing you being who you're being and not shrinking or reconforming to something that you were that you're not. And if you see some twinkle dust falling down that nobody sees but you, I'll be going, that's me cheering you on. Go Craig, go Craig.
That's a
With your
great
bad self.
visual. Yeah. Little Cindy in her red coat on a cloud with her legs crossed. That's the visual I got.
Peering over, saying, "Oh, what's he up to now? Oh, he's. Oh yeah, go Craig. With your bad self. Do your thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be happy.
Yeah. See, it's a path. It's a path that
Yeah.
that all of us are meant to walk
Mm-hmm.
through. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm just one of the early adopters.
So I think I shared with you that after, I don't know exactly how many years, I'm not calculating right now, 5 or 7 years, about 5 years. I had left my church and I just went back one one service in the place where like all the calamity had culminated for me. And it was like living in a glass bowl. All of what I was going through was more obvious to others than even to myself at the time. And I just had no desire to go back there. I thought if I went back there, I would have done a Carrie and gone in and I would have like burnt the place down with rage and disappointment and disgust with the lies and the deceit and everything that I had come to realize were for me. And but I went back it's been about a month now. And so many things were the same. Oh my goodness, so many things were the same. And it was okay. But there were some things that were familiar that I just that called me to go back and I call it the sweet songs of Zion. It's the singing and the praise and the rhythm and the unity of all of that. And it called me back. But in order for me to answer the call, that other stuff was there too. And so I went and I timed my time of when I went so that I could just hear the songs and enjoy it for what I was answering the call for. And I sat in the back in the middle of all the memories and all the nuances and all the shit and all the pompousness, all of the stuff that I just don't care for and do detest. And sure enough, I was fine. I was me. I was the soup. I was undefined by any of all of that. And it felt like I was sitting in my me. And I didn't feel like attacked or shrunk, although people said things and some out of their side of their necks, and even but they were just being polite in the kindness that they knew how to be in a church environment, so to speak. Oh, darling, I haven't seen you in so long. And I'm like, who the fuck cares? Did you really say that right here in Church Syndrome? Yes. But I didn't say it out loud to them. I was polite back, you know. But it didn't change the serenity of the sounds and the call that I answered for being there. And I was just in my meanness. And when people tried to bring things to me, like to put stuff on me, so to speak, I did the what in Tai Chi, there's a thing where you ward off. And I just kindly just, warded things off. And I identified those things that were coming to me that just wasn't me, and it wasn't definitions. And I didn't let them put definitions on me, not even in the slightest comment to me. And even like the pastor in his pompousness, it was a new pastor there, which is a good thing. But it was just so unnecessary for me, for him to do what he did. But I guess it was necessary for him. And he came down out the pulpit and he said, you said you would come and you came. And he gave me like this big display of political, pompous, ingratiating acceptance and love. But I didn't need that. But he needed to do that. So I reciprocated it, but in a way that it didn't take nothing from me to do that. And still sit in my own beingness, not even exercising power. It wasn't even about power. It was just nothing taking away from me and nothing or no one defining me. And it was cool. And before, everybody could break and have that communal time afterward, I just, nodded at a few gentle faces and smiles that know me for who I am or recognize my who-ness, and I nodded goodbye and I slipped out, and it was good. I didn't feel the anger, which was good. I didn't feel retaliation, which was good. I felt peace and calm and assured, and I was okay.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring this up because 5 years ago, I was deeply involved in the church at the time, and I was running the sound booth every Sunday, and I was also chairman of the church board. And it was 5 years ago, exactly 5 years ago, that the pastor died. And oh wow. So all of a sudden I'm running this church body. So I certainly didn't ask for that when I signed on for that. Yeah, exactly. Weird thing. So in that month, 3 things happened that radically changed my life right away. The first thing was my youngest daughter moved out of the house, so became an empty nester. So that's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened was this pastor died. And the third thing that happened, this is about in a 3-week period, the third thing that happened is I turned 60. And those 3 events happening that close together really turned my life up. mostly a big deal was that I had spent a lot of time with this pastor in a car. He actually came to me a few years before and kind of begged me to take this chairman position. So I said, yeah, I'd do it. But I had conditions for doing it. And one of the conditions was that I wanted him to take me to all of the administrative events that you have to go through when you're a pastor. And I didn't really want to go to the administrative events. What I wanted to do is I wanted to sit in a car with him. And I wanted to get to know him and talk about life and all that kind of stuff. And he had, at the time, he had these amazing ideas of what he wanted to do when he retired. And the thing was, he was like part-time pastor of this church, but he also held down 2 other jobs. So he was working like crazy for his retirement. And he had also been taking trips to Mexico. This church that I was in had a number of people who were missionaries in Mexico and had come back there. In fact, one of my best friends back there was born there to missionary parents. And so anyway, he had spent a lot of this time in Mexico too. And part of his retirement plans was to own a house in Mexico and actually winter down there with his wife. He wanted to do that and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, he ends up dying like about 18 months before his 65th birthday. And we knew he was planning on retiring and all this, but he died before he got there. And or before he got to retire. And wow, what a life changer that was for them. And so it really got me thinking about the whole retirement thing and putting off your life and and all this kind of stuff. And wow. So needless to say, yeah, those 3 events. Yeah, those 3 events in October of 2018 really turned my life upside down. Oh, and the end to this story too is like when the end of my term came up, the beginning of 2020, I resigned to kind of follow my life mission and dream, is how I put it to the council, that I wasn't going to anymore. And then 2 months later, COVID shut everything down. So yeah, so it's been kind of an interesting 5 years. Let's put it that way. One of the big realizations that came to me and the reason for pulling out a council and for generally pulling out a leadership in that church is because I came to this realization that I was working really hard to maintain something that was dying. But I've had that same realization about my own persona, like I've shared with this morning, is that whole side of me has been dying for a long time, and it finally broke down completely. And you know, even after it had broken down completely, I was still trying to maintain it. So the last 16 and a half years, since I kind of realized that that's what was going on, I've been fighting it and trying to maintain it and all that stuff. And quite frankly, it's been tiring. And I finally in this last year, I'm really given up. I'm really surrendered to it and saying, look, you know, I'm ready to bury it and move on. But none of that is like an event. It's very much an incremental kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why Paul said in the scripture, I die daily.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of an ongoing thing, you know. But I die. A piece of me dies so that something can be rebirthed in me, right?
Right.
So that some kind of resurrection can show up. And resurrection can't show up until something dies. You know, apparently that's the pattern.
So I think of when you're sitting with a loved one or friend who is about to transition, and it's that thing of, you know, you don't want them to go, but you gotta let them go. And inside of you, you let them go when you say it's,
you mean the death event? Are you talking about?
Yes, of letting them go. And sometimes there are institutions of our life that it's dying. It's okay for it to be okay to let it die.
Yeah.
Let the dead bury the dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, for a long time, I wasn't prepared to let my persona die. You know, I kept trying to maintain it, and I kept kind of fighting that whole thing about my persona dying. And
it's heavy. It's heavy to try to carry a dead body around on you, a dead existence.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what am I holding on to all of this for? It's dead. It's done. There's no life. It gives no life. It's past, and it's okay that it's past, even though you don't know what's ahead. And it's okay. It really is okay. Because if you keep carrying the death of it around you, the deadness of it around you, you're actually letting life pass you by because you're not living. Even when everybody else is still holding up the dead stuff and acting like it's life. But when it's your time to walk out of that structure, it's okay. And you learn to appreciate your own journey, and you appreciate others' journeys who left. Other people left, right? Yeah, when it was time for them to step out. But what did we think of them when they left? They gave up. They turned their backs. And we don't want anyone to ever say that about us. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You're just holding up somebody else's facade that when it's time for them and they come to the realization, they will step off too, and you'll congratulate them. Yay! Rite of passage.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, I've never been one to give up easily. So that's kind of, when it came to this, what we're just talking about, yeah, it's, I mean, that's kind of, to me, that was kind of like an admission that I've been beaten or something. And I didn't really like that. I didn't really like that, even that idea of it. But as I've gone through this, I've realized that there's been this kind of nagging message in the back of my being that I've felt since I was a little kid. And the message was, just give up. Just give up. And today I realized that was my superconscious talking to me. That you just got to give up. You just got to surrender to it. But I never knew, like, give up what? I just had this sense that it was about, that just give up was really important. But my other nature didn't want to even entertain that. I kept meeting it with tenacity.
The things we say to ourselves or listen to fight for our own failure or defense, or our death.
Yeah.
It's okay to let it go.
Yeah. And so just so everybody that's listening knows, I am very careful about sharing this stuff with people, because a lot of times, there has been a number of times when it's come back to bite me, like someone's taken it out of context.
Right.
And so what I realize, I just want to say that what I've come to realize is that the giving up thing is a very important part of life, of the life journey. But it's for each of us to find out what needs to be given up in order to live the desires of our hearts. Let's put it that way. So
when we're building something new, we have to take down the old ones. The old thing, it's like, well, then you're just remodeling or building two. You gotta tear down the old one and make it fall to the ground and start from scratch again.
Yeah. It's interesting you use that language, Heinz, because I've used the terminology. I said, there's been a number of times where I've just stopped and realized that all I was doing was rearranging the furniture. Like, it's when it's a whole brand new life and living situation that needs to be created, right? Instead of just reworking what's there already. It's kind of like there's this requirement about starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't start from scratch until you give up on the old.
I think that's why you were fighting it for 4 years until you actually, like you said, had a breakdown. It
Yeah.
was, you were patching up old places and the walls were still crumbling.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't keep up.
No, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it just the foundation just crumbled and everything just, and we think, oh no, oh my God, no! It gives us a chance to actually look at our property and start rebuilding as we like it to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the same thing's happening globally, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All the old paradigm, all the old structures, all the old systems, all of those things are crumbling, and we can't keep up. We can't keep up with you know, making them even functional, you know, let alone workable. And yeah, and that, you know, this whole situation, this whole experience, it's really scary, because everything I depended on in my life turned out to be a house of cards.
Most of the things
nothing was solid.
Yeah, most of the things we are trying to repair on is based on a lie, and it doesn't matter how much you tidy it up or polish it, it will still be based on a lie. It has to crumble so you can empty the glass and start over with a clean glass.
Right.
Of filling.
Yeah.
I think that's why many of us have what we call a breakdown, and I don't see it as, like, I see it like you do. It isn't positive and it isn't negative. It may have a negative influence on your current life, but it's the one you need to get out of anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But when you're in the storm, it feels like you've been handed an umbrella in a storm, and it'll just make you Mary Poppins instead.
Yeah. So a good question to be asking is, have you had your breakdown yet?
Oh, I've had many during my lifetime. I've lost both of my children, and I've fought the system, and 7 years ago I suddenly realized, why do I take all this personal?
Yeah.
Actually, it's other people's opinion. I can't change what they think, how they feel. The only thing I can change is me. And they may not look at me differently, but I know myself. So
and you brought up a good point there, is that it's not personal.
It's never personal. Often it's something the law says or whatever somebody has written a long time ago, even before I was born, and they're just following it.
Yeah. See, it's your individual that's personal. And the thing is, this isn't about you as an individual. It's about you and your wholeness.
It's about the situation I'm in and everything. Yeah.
It's about you. It's about you as part of the soul soup.
Yep. And it took me a long time to realize that, but as soon as I saw it, oh my God, why have I been fighting? Why I've been wasting that much energy? But I realized all the energy wasn't wasted because the system that I was fighting sort of got to change their perspective based on what I've said.
Yeah.
I think I had to go through it to make changes in the world, but not for my own world. So I come to realize, about the expansion.
That's how the collective of humanity makes the change. It's one person at a time.
I really enjoyed the word you've given me, that expansive. It's become sort of my own spell on myself, that expanding, and then filling up what I've expanded with something new and letting it settle a little bit, and then expanding more, and sort of like a new mantra or self-spell or whatever you're saying. So that's why I had expansive today, and fulfilling and magic. It's sort of like magic to me, that word. So I want to thank you a lot for reading that from what's it called, Gene Key.
Yeah. You know, it's a wonderful thing wonderful thing to lose your sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's let's say it's wonderful and scary at the same time.
It opens up many more new possibility for growth.
It does. It does. Yeah, it takes you right into your potential.
Yep.
Which is undefined and indiscriminate.
Yep, and you start to think about what's truly best, not what's best for me, but what's best for the world around me. So it's my world, I'm changing everywhere. So I get to feel the change I'm making from others even.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing here, we're sharing, and that way we get to expand and care even more, and our love gets to grow. It's not like we can give away all our love. It's not possible, because no matter how much we give away, we will still have the same left. It's not like we're ever going to run out. And the more we share, the more we get shared with, and the more we get to grow.
Yeah.
That's why I really enjoy these talks. So expansive.
Well, that's where we're going.
Yep. It's the only way we can make a difference.
Yeah. Well, and living expansively is different.
Yep. It's like you said, with Paul said, I die each day and get reborn each day.
Yeah. 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 Once you've tasted living in a resurrected form, there's no going back.
Nope, it's like the caterpillar, the butterfly can't turn back into the caterpillar.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
When you think about it, whoever wanted that? It might be a safe, known environment, but like we talked about yesterday, it's the unknown that's truly life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the next level, like Ebony said, in like a game. It's the next level. It's the thing we need to explore now and experience. And shine a light on with our love. I actually believe it's a good thing to lose one's mind, because if you stick with the old, would just be the same program like the rest of the old program. And we've seen how that's going.
Yeah. Yeah. In the words of Paul again, old things are passing away. All things are becoming new.
Yep.
I'm I'm thankful for all of the old. I'm thankful for all of the existential drama of my life and the people who showed up to play their roles, whether the antagonists or the supporters, because I am so satisfied with who I am right now.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, it just doesn't get any better than this until it does. It's good. Good. It's so good.
And I realized the other day that sometimes I get those emotions like, oh, I'm lonely and it's boring being here alone. And then I realized, wow, I get them 10 to 20 minutes a day while the rest of the day I go around in bliss. It's just the EMI interfering. Yeah. It's the old program that are still something left of. And it does come daily sometimes, but I think it's normal. Then I get to cherish myself all over again for the man I've become. It's like you can't have light without a little darkness to show you the light. But I've been used to for 48 years to always have somebody by my side, somebody near me, somebody to talk to. And it's only been 5 months I've ever been truly alone, doing things just for me. And that's why I really enjoy these talks, because it makes me feel close to somebody, and not so I don't feel the loneliness. There's a big difference between loneliness and alone.
Yes. Yeah, this is the only place that I've been able to talk about this kind of stuff.
Exactly, it's the only place.
So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you've sensed the open heart, so you feel like you're sharing. It's the unequal and no judgment, and the world needs this, but I don't think many people are ready for it.
No. Well, I don't know that I'm ready for it either. But it's coming. Like,
it's because we've been taught not to show a vulnerable side. Why? Like, boys don't cry, and why? I've started to question all those old programs a long time ago and come to realize they couldn't even give me an answer for it. And I don't find any answer, so why don't I? When I feel sad, of course, I need to let it out. Like, I see crying is just an overflow of emotion that you can't keep within your body. So you're letting it out. And afterwards, you feel such a, whew, what a relief. A good cry is just as medicating as a good laugh.
Yep.
It's giving space to be able to change the familiar. To see that the familiar can be something different. And trusting that difference. Listening to that urge, exploring that urge, discovering that urge. Letting go of how it should be. And opening to what could be. I'm on it.
Hi, I didn't mean to ask a question and disappear. I got a call. And I happen to be on my phone with this session today.
That's okay, Mona. There's understanding there, even if you haven't heard it with your ears.
Thank you.
Yes, Mona, there's understanding there, and I hope you feel the love, and you should and I hope you get everything that has evolved vibrationally, spiritually, and substantially in your life for everything that you stirred up, and that you have all the benefits, because I grew a lot here.
Morning.
I grew a lot here too. So welcome back, Mona.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but that inner urge or that our inner voice is not very clear. Doesn't tell you what to do. Doesn't give you the instructions. At least mine doesn't.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
That's the real mystery.
Imagine if we were taught in school a diagnostic of our body and how it really works, how far we could get.
Right?
This feeling is incomplete. I'm sitting in when I get those urges. It's like there's an action to be taken, but like if it's not telling you what to do, it's like there occurs an intersectionality of urge, spirit, and desire. It's like, will you follow the urge? Do you have the knowingness of your desired results? But when you don't know that your own desired results, sometimes it can be really, really tricky to trust taking a leap of faith on an urge. But when I know what I want and that gumption of urge comes and that desire hits with a boldness of spirituality, it's just like then I do know what I need to do next. I may not know all 10 steps, but I know the next right thing to do, and just trust that that next right thing will show me the next right thing. So it's like with urge, you really have to spend some time to know yourself, to know what you want, and that you're willing to do what it takes with truth, love, integrity, and all of that alignment and all of that good stuff to get what you want. And you know that you're feeling a purpose for even a further good.
Well said, because every time I bring it back to the purposes or the intentions or the desires, right? You always can find the connection like this, and you can find what feels right, and it's always in the action. It's always the doing. And that's all it is. It's like what to do next, where yet we've been conditioned or educated to think that we have to follow a plan.
Yeah, following a preconceived plan.
the power of this structure between what do I want, desire, passionate about, my purpose, whatever you need to put out there for want. And where am I?
Yeah, because I'm still following a plan, but this plan isn't preconceived. It's kind of like a plan that is made up as you go along, which is really kind of freaky.
It's experienced along the way, which is the whole point.
Yeah. And that's where the trust word comes in.
And the flexibility to choose, to create, to just change the perspective, to change the fixedness that we've been taught.
Yeah, it's the difference between fixed and fluid.
Mhm.
Like I'm coming to realize that I'm designed to live fluidly.
I relate that to living, trusting, to live on the leading edge is fluidity. Mm. Mm. Trust.
Yeah, because that's living in sync with everything that's unfolding.
It's, so it's to sync with what's unfolding.
Yeah. And then you're not living in aloneness. You're living in harmony. You're living in communion. And the sensitivity to that can be, is developing, right? To be able to kind of sense what's going on and to choose to participate in it.
That's a good move.
I've seen it.
Great stuff, too.
Syncing with what shows up, anchored in what we want, desire, or working to bring forth.
Yeah. Your desires are fluid too.
Like Bruce Lee said, be like water and change with the containers.
Yeah.
But don't be contained by them.
when I decided to live the desires of my heart, it keeps surprising me what shows up. And I'm going like, oh, I didn't know that's what my heart wanted. How many times have I said that?
And what a nice feeling it is to get surprised over and over again.
Well, yeah.
It takes away all one's expectations for everything.
Well, and I've been surprised by what's shown up too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and and I realized that I couldn't have consciously engineered that.
Our conscience is limited to what it knows. What's in the past, it isn't. So
Right.
By letting go of it, we can actually embrace the future.
Yeah, it keeps trying to create everything that way.
Probably why they say history repeats itself. It's because it's EMI based. It only knows what's in the history.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for a wonderful morning.
Thank you. It's been a really expansive day. Lots of new material to digest.
Thank you, Ernst. Central, Mona.
Yes. I feel like I want to sit in my heart today, like consciously all day, and make sure I'm functioning and doing from that space without expectation, and see the magic unfold, because I know it's unfolding.
Wow, it was my words, Central. But you spoke with much more will. You all have a blessed day. Love and hugs.
Bye, all.
Love and hugs.
Everybody
Bye.
have a good day and evening.
Yes, and evening. Peace.